everyone, and welcome back to the show that asks you to pull out your chairs, get out your TTRPG books, and join us at the table. Great to see you on this wonderful, hot Tuesday. If you're on the West Coast, you know what I'm talking about. If you're on the East Coast, it's probably also pretty hot there, too.
Or up north.
Or if you're up north, yeah, if you're up north enough, you're hopefully fine. So today we're going to be doing the final part of the Sorcerer, Part 4. We're going to finish the feats, get into a nice deep chat with y'all about Sorcerer builds. We've been doing this like crazy. If you have questions, let us know. If you have comments or recommendations, shout it out. This is our chance to really build with you guys and really put in some like discussion points and stuff. And let's have a good time. Depending on how things go, maybe we'll have a little build together, and we'll see where that goes. First time in a while, we know, and we want to build with you guys. So without further ado, let's do a quick introduction. Mr. Michael Powell, tell them who you are and where they can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
Well, as always, I am the dastardly, dashing Michael Powell, and you can find me all over the internet on, at Mr. Kapow. That's MRKAPAO. And how about you?
My name is PJ McGaw. You can find me all over the internet at pj.mcgaw. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Come find me. Let's have a good time. Let's be friends. And without further ado, let's get to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as we left off last time, I believe we were talking about the Sorcerer feats, and I think we are finally on the level 14 feats. Right, PJ?
That's right. Yeah, we were able to cover all the traits, talk about like the pros and cons of these really great traits for this amazing casting class, and a lot of really awesome build stuff for levels 1 to 12. So now we're starting off with 14. We're going to go 14 to 20, and just kind of continue that conversation.
Yeah, we'll get the ball rolling.
Absolutely. Well, the first one is Consume Spell. Do you want to cover that first, or do you want me to cover that
first? Sure. Well, when it comes to eating, come to the right guy.
You're like a foodie, and all the food you make looks like magic, so you may as well be eating magic.
Oh, yeah. Well, this feat is level 14, called Consume Spell. The prereq for this is Counterspell. When you successfully counterspell a spell of the tradition that matches your bloodline, you consume it, replenishing yourself with its energy. When you do, you are nourished as if you've eaten a meal and regain hit points equal to twice the level of the counteracted spell. I love this feat. This is such an awesome feat.
This is both great mechanically and amazing roleplay. I love this feat. First of all, any feat, and Paizo is so rich full of feats that give you roleplay opportunities. But if they give you a rich roleplay opportunity and an awesome like mechanic, do it. You're basically being healed double the level to spell your counterspelling. At level 14, that means you're probably going to be eating a 6th or 7th level spell.
Dude, seriously, if I'm playing a sorcerer, actually no, not even if, my next sorcerer that I'm going to be playing in this system is gonna, at level 14, have Consume Spell feat. Actually, it also, you know what anime this actually reminds me of? It's an anime, it's an old anime, it might be slightly obscure. It's called Eat Man. It's a,
Oh wait, I think I remember something like small about that.
I have the manga. This is actually a bookshelf right behind me. It's in this bookshelf.
See, my brain, the minute you said anime, went to Fairy Tail, because you had all those dragon-blooded sorcerers, basically, eating magic to regain their energy. And I kind of see it like that, too. By the way, if you're new to At the Table, we make a ton of references. Also, not that she's going to come out and play, but if you see the cat tree is moved over here, so maybe Simon will come and join us. That's not an invitation.
This is the manga.
Eat Man. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Basically, this manga is about the main character called Boltagrank, and you got to say it like that. Boltagrank. He eats like spare parts and everything, and in his body, when he could actually summon it out from his palm, it's all like reconstructed. Like he eats like parts of a gun, it'll reconstruct in his hand. An enemy pokes a gun in his face, he can literally eat the barrel of the gun and just continue to eat it, and later on summon it from his hand.
Dude, I think the real superpower is the ability to eat a gun. Could you imagine someone's like, stick it up, and you're like, no, nom nom nom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna be eat spell man
Eat spell,
with my
man.
next sorcerer.
It's definitely a very cool feat. And what's great about this is like if the level 14 feats don't really work with like your build, because remember in the last episode we talked about how a lot of the feats are really awesome skill or feat trees that really enhance your spell casting powers. So if you're really trying to focus on that, you may not like anything else, but you have a self heal that really makes your counter spell feat at level 1 like super worth it.
Yeah, this is actually really great if it'll give your healer, probably a cleric, a little break, and also especially higher levels, you're gonna get hit by spells. Fingers crossed,
Yeah.
there's a tradition that is part of your bloodline.
Fingers crossed, yeah. And if you don't remember the rules for counterspelling, it does feel like the sorcerer counterspell is a better version than the wizard and witch, who has to know and have prepared that spell exactly. And I get why, but it is a little frustrating with that much specificity.
Yeah, in chat, Reap Psyche posted Matter Eater Lad from the Legion of Superheroes. I recognize that character. The only difference between him and Eat Man is Eat Man could resummon the constructed whatever he ate. He literally once ate an entire boat and summoned the boat back out.
Yeah, I remember Matter Eater Lad too, because that was another thing I thought about, the ability to eat all matter.
Yeah.
So the next feat, level 14, it's kind of like Consume Spell. It's called Interweave Dispel. It's one action, and instead of using Counterspell, you're now dispelling magic. So if you have the Dispel magic spell in your repertoire, meaning you just know it, you may not have it prepared, but you know it. You weave dispelling energy into a spell, sending both effects at a foe. If your next action is to cast a single target spell against a creature, and you either hit the foe with the spell attack roll or the foe fails the save, you can also cast Dispel Magic on the foe as a free action, expending a spell slot as normal and targeting one spell effect affecting the foe. This should be said, this is a meta magic feat, so you're basically spending one other action for a greater casting action. And this is insane, because if you're giving them a debuff and they're already buffed, you can remove the buff that they already have and impose a further debuff.
Oh yeah, this is really great if you're using the Hag bloodline, actually. Because debuff, permanent debuff, and you know that little buff you got? Bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna take out like your like, I know I've looked, Bull Strength isn't in this edition, but like, let's just say you have that. I'm gonna remove Bull Strength from you, and I'm gonna hit you with the Ray of
Sickness, I think it's called.
There's a Ray of Sickness, but there's a Ray of Weakening. Basically, like you're giving them the enfeebled status. So not only am I taking away your bonus to your strength, I'm now taking away the strength you already have on top of that.
And honestly, I'm pretty sure there's a spell that's the Pathfinder second equivalent of Bull Strength. And in fact, I think in the first edition, Bull Strength is actually a spell, I think.
Please let me know, because I've been looking everywhere for the Bull Strength spell for the one shot I'm going to be doing for charity, because I would really love to have that buff spell, and I have not found it anywhere. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure they just renamed it, and it's hidden, tucked away somewhere. Because honestly, when we first started these videos, I did get first edition, second edition mixed up from time to time. Jumping in the chat real quick. Let's see, Avenging Penguin first. Greetings from the Southwest. I love At the Table because it's awesome, but it's also at a time that won't mess with sleep. Sleep is very important.
Oh, yeah.
And always good to see you, dude. And
Absolutely.
love your art.
Avenging Penguin, great. I love the art. If you haven't been on our Twitter yet and checked it out, there's a really great work they did about Rufa riding one of the bats of Camazotz in Asmacon.
Fear and Loathing style.
Yeah, we can't stay here. This is Bat Country. It was
Yep.
brilliant. I loved it.
Reap Psyche posted, wasn't there a real dude who ate a 747 over the course of like 2 years? Oh, I remember that story. I think there was. He just like ate a piece, but I'm pretty sure it didn't stay in his body. He like it passed, but yeah.
Yeah, I like. Okay, so like, hold up, wait a minute. See my cup, put some water in it. I had some thoughts. Like, okay, Matter Eater Lad. The whole thing is he's breaking the matter down, right?
Yeah.
If you're eating a
A
plane,
plane.
like there's no nutrients. It just, you know what? Hey, good for him. Good for Michael Latino.
Yeah. Oh, and it's not a 747. It was a Cessna 150.
A Cessna, is that a car? I do not know. It
I
might
think
be
it's a
different type
plane,
of
but
plane.
just a smaller plane. But yes, a vegging penguin. Klinger from MASH did eat a Jeep. I remember that episode.
I don't like you're eating it. Are you really eating it? Or are you just putting it through the poop hose of your mouth to butt? Like you're not really getting any nutrients, and it's not being broken down.
Somebody please clip that. We just need a clip of PJ saying poop hose.
Yes, yes. It's no longer an esophagus or digestive tract. It's just one giant poop hose from your mouth to your butt.
But I will say, Interweave Dispel is a really cool feat. Actually, I'm wondering, could you combine that with Consume Spell?
I don't think so.
Got to choose
Only be-
one or other, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously you can have both feats,
Yeah.
but the issue is that they won't work together. The big thing is that Counterspell is a reaction. It is a contested reaction check, whereas Dispel is an active action you are casting. Now, if you have both, that's amazing because that's shutting down a spell before it goes off and is shutting down a spell after it goes off.
True. But anyway, moving on. Oh, I think our Yu-Gi-Oh fans are gonna like our next feat. It's called Reflex Spell. It's a level 14 speed, and the prereq for this is Counterspell. When you successfully use Counterspell to counteract a spell that affects targeted creatures or an area, you could turn that spell's effect back on the caster. When reflected, the spell affects only the original caster, even if it's an area spell or it would normally affect more than one creature. The original caster can attempt to save and use other defenses against the reflected spell as normal. So basically this is Mirror Force, trap card, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty much.
And there's nothing wrong with trap cards. We all love them. It's a great. This is another one of those things I call the "F you pay me." Like, haha, no, it's coming at you now. Let's see here. I'm gonna get the next one. Spell Shroud. Now I'm really curious about this because I've been noticing as I'm making a Magus character, there's a lot of similarities. Actually, a lot of redundancies between the Sorcerer and the Magus. I think that's really kind of fun. Spell Shroud. Let's see if it's the same. So Spell Shroud, 14th level. It's a one-action meta-magic feat. Your spell shrouds you in a billowing cloud. Your next action is to cast a spell that targets you, your surrounding self, in a 15-foot emanation of dense magical mist that lasts until the start of your next turn. All creatures within the cloud become concealed, and all creatures outside the cloud are concealed to creatures within it. So, not the same, but it's rather interesting because, like, if you have... oh god, what are they called? The Sylphs or the Marids, any of those versatile heritages that gain perks and bonuses to, like, this kind of misty concealment. Now you have a meta magic spell as a sorcerer of the Sylph or Marid bloodline or ancestry that allows you to just constantly be pumping out these mists to get this benefit from.
Honestly, this would be really great with one of the Fey bloodlines, actually, from the Sorcerer, I think.
I could see that working too, because I think they have some defensive things like that as well.
And also, thank you so much, Van, for those bits. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Van. Thank you so much for the bits. And also, just great to see you, Van.
Yeah.
Great to see all y'all.
All right. Now we're moving on to level 16 feats. This one's called Effortless Concentration. This is a free action. The trigger is, well, it's pretty simple. Your turn begins. You're going to hit that trigger probably.
Unless you're dead.
True. You maintain a spell with hardly a thought. You immediately gain the effects of the sustain a spell action, allowing you to extend the duration of one of your active class spells. Ooh.
See, I like this because, first of all, any free actions in a game based very much in action economy is always a great thing. The fact that you're no longer spending one action to maintain a spell opens up a lot of possibilities. More movement, more spell casting, etc., etc. So that's especially if you are a sorcerer and you are going to be casting so many spells.
Oh yeah, and I will say it doesn't have I kind of want to say the shine that some of the more flashy feats have, but this is a really great bread and butter. It may not seem, like I said, flashy, but it works really strongly in the background.
Yeah, this is a great subtle way to buff your experience as a sorcerer, specifically a sorcerer,
Yeah.
because you have the focus powers, you have the bloodline spells, you have your repertoire, you have all these other actions that you can be doing and buff spells you can be giving. And if you're the celestial bloodline and you have healing spells and bonuses to healing, then you can sustain, I don't know, a very powerful effect spell while you're healing everyone else.
I even want to say the diabolic or demonic or even hag bloodlines, because they have really strong debuffs that you can actually extend.
Yeah, or just open up one avenue so you can like do something and then expend those debuffs. The next one, and I'm really excited about this because I really do love like trees. I know some people hate trees because I guess it feels like they're like locked into it, but I feel like most of the time the trees can be worth it. Maybe not the level you get it at, but there's a lot of perks. Like this next one at level 16 is the Greater Mental Evolution. This is for arcane or occult evolutions. And remember, previously in the last one, we kind of covered those. They give you a really cool benefit for specifying your bloodline and investing in it, which as a sorcerer, it's kind of what you want, right?
Yeah.
So this one, the Greater Mental Evolution, arcane or occult evolutions previously chosen. Your bloodline's deep connection to mental essence greatly enhances your spell repertoire. Add one spell to your spell repertoire for each spell level you can cast. So this is really tricky because previously we talked about how like the other ones get raw power, right? And comparatively, that sounds better. But you have to remember the trick about being a bard or a wizard is it's not the power of the spell because you're gonna get all the spells. It is the spells that you can choose from, right?
Yeah.
It's the bullets in your spell gun, and it's the amount of ammunition in your back pocket. This gives you more, at least, ammo in your back pocket.
Yeah.
To fire from.
Yeah, PJ, you nailed it right on the head. That was what I was exactly gonna say. I've been actually playing some on my free time, Resident Evil, and one of the things that I noticed now that I'm doing like my fifth playthrough is, you need to start upgrading the ammo capacity of your weapons.
Exactly, and this is a great example of ammo capacity versus ammo efficacy. Like, the rocket launcher is the most powerful weapon in the game, only has like maybe 2 rockets, but the Chicago typewriter is a pretty darn powerful Thompson M20, but it's got a buttload of bullets.
Oh yeah, I also know this because I have a prop airsoft replica of it, and yeah, that thing could go, even the airsoft version.
Quick bit of like gun nerd trivia thing. So the Thompson M20 started off as the assault rifle, the automatic assault rifle for soldiers during World War I and II. I think it was mostly produced in World War II. Now, at that point in time, it was just a stiff vertical magazine insert, and I want to say they had about 30 bullets, which is a good number for most.
Back then.
Yeah, I think even nowadays, our soldiers have, for the M16, M14 carbines, and M4s, they have about a 13 bullet magazine But the one that we all know, the Tommy gun for the
the
Thompson
drum.
M20, is the barrel drum, and I want to say the barrels come with anywhere between 50 to 100 bullets, depending on like
Yeah.
double, single,
Yeah.
or like large barrel, and that's just spray and pray.
Yeah.
That
And
that's just no skill, just raw
yeah.
numbers.
PJ, correct me if I'm wrong. The difference between the stick and the drum was the drum gets jammed more than the stick version, right?
Ooh,
I think they're
that's
pretty
difficult.
solid. They're pretty solid, but I would think, the drum will probably get jammed more often than not than the other version.
It depends. Someone who's a gun nut more than me, please correct me, because I believe most of the jamming happens within the chamber mechanism of the slide,
Yeah.
especially with an automatic weapon where they're recycling gas and jettisoning brass at a high velocity. So, like, it's not so much the magazine that jams it. The problem comes from what the excess of bullets, your risk of jamming obviously increases as you're pumping out more brass. Anyway, that being said, I want to jump quickly into the chat and quit talking about guns because that's not what we're here for. But a
We need to do a
big shout out.
survival horror game, and then we can talk about all the guns we want.
I mean, there is October coming, but guns don't really exist in a lot of places in EOL. Maybe we'll do a horror game in New Jack City and we'll all have machine guns. But quick shout out to Van, who made a great point. Trees are nice. They can reflect the results of someone's focused training. That focus creating more power. And they go on to say, and of course, you can always leave the tree whenever. Exactly.
Yeah.
If having this extra bullet, in your ammo pouch doesn't appeal to you, you don't have to. You're not locked. You're not forced to be locked.
Yeah, and also Reap Psyche posted, nothing like a survival horror game to teach you about resource management, especially the early Resident Evil games, because you also have a very limited storage capacity. Trust me, you do not know how many times I'm like, do I keep the herb or do I keep the ammo?
Yup. That's why you get really good at knifing. You don't run out of knife. Which is my favorite argument for playing a martial class. Like, oh man, you know what I don't run out of? Sword slots. That
True.
sword, I can cast sword all day.
True. Avenging Penguin also posted, I love drawing fan art for you. You guys get my imagination tingling, and I must create. I'm working on something for Chonibus right now. I haven't drawn her before, and I think she is deserving of it. Ooh, I cannot wait to see that. I'm really hyped. Really hyped.
Avenging Penguin. I love your art, and I think Kylie's gonna get a huge kick out of it. I cannot wait to see it. Van said they're also thinking about doing some artwork. I'm super excited to see what you come up with as well, Van. I love all the love. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Reap Psyche posted, heals or damage? Damage. Just don't get hit.
Yeah. And Eric Jackson just popped the ball. So Eric, great to see the chat. Muscle Wizard cast fist. Muscle Wizard cast fist.
Oh, and one last one. Avenging Penguin. I used to fire howitzers many decades ago. Dude, that is awesome.
Dude, that is dope. Thank you for your time spent. And that's how loud was the howitzer? Did it make the ground shake?
Yeah. But anyway, let's jump into the next feat. I believe it's mine. It's called Greater Vital Evolution. Requirements for this is Divine Evolution or Primal Evolution. Vital power surges through you like a font of energy. Twice per day, you can cast a spell after you run out of spell slots of the appropriate spell level. The 2 spells you cast with this feat must be of different spell levels. Dude, yeah.
Oh my god.
I like this because I've played spellcaster before where... Okay, I'm not going to make this analogy, the next analogy I want to make, because... there's still daylight out, but backed in the corner, out of spell slots, and you're like, oh, F. And you're the spellcaster, though, so it's not like you could, really hit them that well. But this one, backed in the corner, out of spell slots, think you're down for the count. Fireball!
Oh, man. I mean, I love the arcane and occult bloodlines for the sorcerer. I think we all know, though, I have a huge, fondness in my heart for like divine classes and divine magic, and this greater vital evolution giving the divine caster of the sorcerer more spells. It's so good.
Okay, actually, wait. Then it wouldn't be Fireball. It would be Divine Lance.
Well, divine lance is a cantrip, but something like now here's the great thing. So twice per day you can cast a spell. Here's the thing: you can still be a divine bloodline and still have access to Fireball.
Okay.
As a sorcerer,
Oh yeah.
or as a diabolic, or
You're right.
demon bloodline, I think you still get that.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Like I said, I have not played that many spellcasters in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, so I have not yet memorized all the spell list. Yet.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Reap Psyche was asking, I'm starting my search now, do clerics get Flame Strike in this edition? I'm in the Divine Spell list right now. They may get something similar by a different name. Let me see if I can find it. Right now I'm in the 6th level spells, and I've already gone through 8, 9, and 10. Or 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh, well, it does say Bloodline, Angelic, and Divine, and it's a level 5 spell.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So, in theory, you could get that from your Bloodline directly.
Yeah. All right. Well, PJ, why don't you take us with the next feat?
All right. So, you said Greater Vital Evolution. This is Scintillating Spell. Scintillating Spell, it's a meta magic feat. It's a concentrate and light trait as well. One action, your spells become a radiant display of light and color. If your next action is to cast a spell that doesn't have the darkness trait, has no duration, and requires creatures to attempt a reflex save, the spell explodes in a spray of scintillating lights, in addition to other effects. Each creature that has failed the reflex save against the spell is dazzled for 1 round, and those who critically failed are blinded instead for 1 round. Dazzled basically grants concealment to you or to the target of the dazzled person, and blind, of course, is blind. So you can make a fireball go off and then make it basically a giant flashbang.
Dude, you're basically Jubilee from the X-Men. Or Dazzler.
Very much Dazzler. Yeah. You know what's funny about that? When they made the video game, more nerd trivia, when they made the video game based off the X-Men animated cartoon series back in the 90s, if y'all remember that, Gem, they based the video game off of the pilot episode, which was like an hour long, and it was really bad. And by the time they finally finished the video game based on the pilot, they rebranded, rewrote, and redid everything for the cartoon show. So the video game came out, and it looked nothing like the show that people actually knew and loved, and it was very confusing because Dazzler wasn't in the original 90s cartoon show, but she was in the pilot hour-long movie.
Yeah, my favorite character to use in the game was, of course, Colossus, just so I can spam like over and over at boss fights.
I loved all the characters. I think my first few was Wolverine, of course, because snick bub, and then Nightcrawler, because just he was. I grew up liking martial arts a lot, so if I saw someone who looked like he could do a backflip, I was like, "You're my best friend."
Oh, and by the way, also for the longest time on my cell phone, the Colossus yell was every time I got a text.
Oh no! Man, I want to say I had something. Oh, when I got a phone call, it was the '90s X-Men cartoon opener. Anyway, let's move on with
great theme song.
Oh, so good. It's chilling. Let's do the next one. Terraforming Spell.
Yeah, this is a feat at level 16 called Terraforming Spell. It's 1 action. You capture transmorphative fragments of magic, little mushmouth, of magic, and slam them into the ground, creating a shockwave that alters your surroundings. If your next action is to cast a non-cantrip transmutation spell, either each space adjacent to you becomes difficult terrain, or each space adjacent to you is no longer difficult terrain. This doesn't have any effect or greater effect on greater difficult terrain, and doesn't remove the damaging effects of hazardous terrain.
It's
It's
interesting.
yeah, I would say of this line of I guess spells at level 16, this is so far the weakest. I'm saying this is the weakest of the ones we saw thus far.
Yeah, I think the big thing about Terraforming Spell, it's cool in flavor. The idea that you're like, I don't know, slamming your hand against the ground to cast a spell, and then there's this ripple in the earth. Like, the flavor you can get from this
Yeah.
is chef's kiss, but it is high tactic, low output. And
Yeah.
that's something that you as a player, hopefully at level 16, that's a lot of gameplay. Hopefully you at level 16 would understand what you need for your 16 feet.
Yeah,
Do you want high tactic, or do you want more something else?
Honestly, I would say this should have been moved up a lot earlier to like level 8 feet. Like I can see this, or even level 4. Like I can see this as a very early feat. At level 16, you're not gonna get that much bang for your buck, and you might honestly get something else.
Yeah, I think I feel like this was created mostly to provide an alternative to Scintillating Spell.
Yeah.
If you're like, well, I don't really want a debuff. Okay, cool. If you don't want a debuff, how about uh, battlefield control?
Yeah.
But the problem is that all it does is remove difficult terrain, which at level 16 you have fly, you have elves that can just walk right over it, but it doesn't remove the damage factor of any damaging effects of the difficult terrain. So even then, it's like, is it really
Actually,
that tactical?
you know what? This feat could have been saved if it allows you to create hazardous terrain. That would have been amazing. That would be amazing. Like you create like you could slam your fist in the ground and have like lava bubble up, or create like what is it? An ice field around you, or cover the terrain in like venomous or poisonous barbs, like plants.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I think you make a good point, because the fact that you can create or remove difficult terrain is rather interesting. However, it looks like the difficult terrain is only created around you, or removing difficult terrain around. Yeah, each space adjacent to you is no longer difficult terrain.
It doesn't.
So it could be.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. What was that?
I was gonna say, and the fact that it doesn't have any effect on greater difficult terrain. This would have been even better if it affected greater difficult terrain. Honestly,
Especially because like you're only 2 feet away from the end of your growth, right?
Yeah.
So I would argue that this requires one small tweak, and as a GM with this conversation, I would allow this. Keep the ability to create and remove difficult terrain. Of course, that's a given. That's a very common thing. Then add hazardous terrain. Get rid of or create hazardous terrain. Because again, it's only within the squares adjacent to you or the spell. Now, unless it's like a 30, 40-foot radius, I mean, hell, even then there are abilities that create like 60 feet of difficult terrain.
I think there's spells that allows you to do that. I'm going to jump in the chat real quick. Avenging Penguin is asking, what edition do you recommend for someone who hasn't played Pathfinder before? And right now, Reap Psyche replied with, personally, I say 2nd edition just because you probably find more people playing it these days and going forward. Plus, it's easier to grow the system than it is to catch up with one that's been going on for a decade or more. Totally agree with you 100% there, Reap Psyche. And also, what is it? 2nd edition was released. Oh god, I looked it up actually not too long ago. 2019, I believe. Right?
Yeah, the playtest came out in 2018 with the playtest books, and then the original book came out, I want to say early 2019, if not late 2018.
Yeah, because I remember when we first started this whole madness, it was still really, really new.
It was, and I remember at one point I had to tell people, I'm like, don't buy the beta test book.
Yeah.
They're already discontinuing that. They're already releasing the full rule book, and the rules will be different. Like, wait for that.
Yeah. You only buy the beta test rules for if you're a collector, like certain people.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, the beta test rules are interesting. Let me also my 2 cents on Pathfinder 1 versus Pathfinder 2. Having played both, I recommend Pathfinder 2e only because Pathfinder 1 is really great and it's established. Like there won't be any new materials, I don't believe, for Pathfinder 1e. They may go back and create more modules, but all the character creation stuff is settled and done. And it's a lot. It's a lot of really good content. With Pathfinder 2e, the combat system is easier, I think. The action economy is easier. Building a character is a lot more fun and hands-on and easier. I think 2e is just a better starting point. Just as far as, like, getting your hands on the math and the crunch and the world of Galarian.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a better start.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. How many times have I said this on stream, PJ, that I love the 3-action economy? I love it. It's such a simple thing that I think at this point any sort of sword and magic fantasy games should have. And also, what is it? But yeah, it's really great. And also, I believe there is still a 1E material coming out, but those are from third-party companies that you can find like on Drive Through RPG and other websites like that. Indie stuff.
Yeah. So have fun with 2E, and the cool thing is you can do your 2E right along with us here and at the table or at Edge of Legend, and then if you really want to try doing 1E, use your knowledge of 2E as a base, and then get ready to do a lot of algebra. I remember when everyone was like, D&D's the devil, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's just high school algebra.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's, you know what? Let's jump into the next feat. We're at the level 18 now.
Yeah. Now we're doing the level 18 stuff. Is that you, Bloodline Wellspring? Is that you or me? I forgot.
That's you.
That's
I did
me.
Terraforming Spell.
Right. Oh, that's right. Bloodline Wellspring. Prerequisites, you have to have a Bloodline focus. I think you just get the first one out the gate. Recommend investing in those anyway. Your blood's power replenishes your focus. If you spend at least 3 focus points since the last time you refocused, you recover 3 focus points when you refocus instead of 1. So this is essentially an increase of that feat we covered last game, where instead of having to take a whole bunch of time to constantly refocus and get all your focus points back, you spend 10 minutes, boom, all 3 back in your pocket.
Oh, yeah. It's, I mean, once again, it's one of those not super flashy feats, but pretty good bread and butter.
Now, here's the fun thing. We're at 18, soon to be 20 with the feat coverage. This is the one time where, like, what you choose is extremely vital. Everything else is vital, but it has a different weight. We are about to get to the strongest realization of your character's power, so what you choose here will directly impact that reality.
Yeah, like the Bloodline.
No pressure.
The Bloodline Wellspring is great if you constantly use your focus spells, especially your highest tier focus spells.
Yeah. And Reap's like you're saying, anything that improves your action economy is clutch. Absolutely. Especially as you're getting to level 20 and you're going to be fighting Tarrasques and gods and dragons. And you're like, okay, every action choice counts. Especially because now your spell list is going to become powerful but limited.
Yeah.
So, like, at 18, okay, you can cast a 9th level spell, but you can only do it once or twice. Yeah. And you really need to not screw that up.
Yeah, remember, your strongest enemies are basically going to level and scale with you.
Yeah. Also, Avenging Penguin said, order and on its way. Woo, so excited. Let us know. Let us know when it arrives. I can't wait.
Can't wait to see it. Post a picture if you feel comfortable with it.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Our next level 18 feat is called Echoing Spell. It's 1 action. You time the components of your spell with exact exacting precision, setting up a reconnaissance that duplicates the spell's effects. If your next action is to cast a spell of 4th level or lower, it has no duration. The spell's energy reverberates and echoes. You can cast a spell a second time before the end of your next turn without expanding a spell slot. Dude, this... I can think of a few spells that... this could be...
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh, it's.
Ooh.
I mean, it's meta magic. So you're gonna be spending your entire turn casting a spell and doing this, but it's worth it though.
Yeah. Oh man. What level is Fireball again?
I think it starts at 3rd level,
Okay.
and
So
then a 4th level fireball twice. Ooh,
ooh. Double barrel fireballs.
You know, it's speaking of which, I've been probably overlooking into the Magus too much because I want to like really have fun with this character. I'm going to, but like casting Fist makes me want to play the unarmed Magus. I don't know why I mentioned that ADHD moment, but also I like the Bastard Sword because it's so good too.
True. Ooh, I have an idea for our. Well, not for this build, but maybe a future if we do a spell build. A little peek. Basically, maybe a level 2 or level 2 spell probably that will allow you to turn your mage hand into like an actual fist to strike with.
Ooh, I like that. I would kind of like, you know what it reminds me of? In the other edition, they have a spell called Bigsby's Hand.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool, like meta magic feat. You basically you spend a spell slot to like increase the cantrip or something.
Yeah, and now this is the Loki side of my brain that's percolating. You can heighten the level. It allows you to it creates another hand to grapple your opponent, and the other hand to basically give them noogies.
Oh no. I love it.
Mage hand noogies.
Yeah, but like doing like a D10 of damage noogie.
Yeah, it's like it'll be like what is it? From like the other game, Vicious Mockery, but it's just like, or quit hitting yourself, quit hitting yourself, quit hitting yourself.
Just straight up mockery.
Yeah.
Van was saying, dude, Magus with martial arts dedication. I agree as well. The build I'm going with is a Magus champion, and the reason for that is because I thought it was really silly to have this elf lifting character that I have a TikTok OC on, and I kind of want to bring that character to life, so it made more sense to go champion.
It's basically you. It's basically you.
It's me. Well, even that whole thing started off because I wore elf ears to the gym a few times, and it actually got really big. I was known at the gym as the elf guy, so that was kind of fun. But anyway, the point is, like, I was thinking about doing unarmed strikes, because you can get a feat right now in the playtest at 1st level where your dice damage goes up from a D4 to a D6, and you get no negative penalties for strikes. And you can basically cast all your spells through your body already. But then the dumb number munch in my brain was like, but Bastard Sword does more damage. And I'm like, ugh. Yes, it does. So I'm trapped in that. So next time. Another time we'll do it.
Next time. Waffles Maple Syrup posted, my Waffle favorite class he played is still Gymnast Swashbuckler with martial arts dedication. Only took it to 4, but it was so much fun.
Yeah, I'm really curious because I was also looking at the Swashbuckler. There's a lot of fun economy with the Swashbuckler. I know we talked about that at the table previously, but I really like that economy. Van's also saying, even if you choose Bastard Sword, you can choose Mauler Archetype. Yes, 1,000%. And I love that because they get some really cool stuff. The problem though is that I took the dedication feat for the champion, so I am strapped for feats.
Waffles Maple Syrup also posted, so many more options in combat than hit. Oh, exactly. Like, honestly, if you watch Edge of Legend, yeah, I do try to get a hit in, but my other 2 actions I usually have is one of the other abilities, like some sort, like, trip or demoralize, or do some kind of other BS that gives PJ a headache.
Hey, all you're doing is buffing and debuffing. Okay, that's legit.
Oh, and Avenging Penguin posts, I cast Swirly!
I cast Swirly. Van was saying champion's always a great choice. I love having the reactions of the champion and the smite evil. It's so good. God,
Anyway.
I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
guys. We're so unfocused today.
Let's jump on to the next, the last level 18 feat.
I think I got it all set up and ready. This is the Greater Bloodline or Greater Crossblood Evolution.
Yes.
Yeah. So this one you have to have the Crossblood Evolution earlier in your path. In fact, I want to say the Crossblood Evolution is level 6. It's level 8. Okay. So you get that level 8, you can get this.
Yeah.
Your bloodline is extraordinarily complex at 18. You can have the 3 spells from other traditions in your spell repertoire rather than just the 1. The spells must each be of a different spell level, but they don't need to be from the same tradition. Okay, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Because you are now diversifying so much. Like, oh, I'm just going to take this occult spell from the hag. I'm going to take this primal spell. Or at least I'm going to take, the school of magic, like these 3 or 4 different spells.
And honestly, this is a great way to grab one of the most powerful spells in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Heal.
Heal is such a good spell. I swear to God. And this Greater Crossblood Evolution is also great because remember, as a sorcerer, the bullets in your gun and the ammo in your pouch is kind of what makes you. So having so much more knowledge and repertoire, as well as getting those free extra spell slots here and there, is vital to your experience. What you can offer, what you can do. Get that free magic. Good God.
Definitely. All right. Now we are at the capstones, finally. The first one is called Bloodline Conduit. It's 1 action. The frequency is once per minute. Your inborn magical nature lets you redirect ambient energies to fuel your spells. If your next action is to cast a spell of 5th level or lower that has no duration, you don't expand the spell slot when you cast it. Ooh, this is nice.
This is spicy.
Really nice.
Oh my God.
Oh, dude, you can literally cast Wish twice if you have access to it.
Well, yes. Thankfully, though, because that would be insanely broken.
Never 5th level.
Yeah,
5th level. You're right.
5th level spell. But here's the thing, though. You could cast a 5th level fireball, 5th level lightning bolt, 5th level whatever for free once a minute. That's almost once a combat.
Oh, definitely. I'm just gonna jump in and look at the level 5 spells that you get access to, at least in the arcane side of things. But
yeah, just make it easier for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. There's some really nice spells here. Like I'm looking at dude. You could turn yourself. I need to actually look this up. Yeah, I think you cast. You call upon the powers of planes transfer. Okay. You could basically cast this twice, I guess. I was gonna say elemental form. But you won't really need to cast it twice on yourself.
Here's the one spell that you need to know to peeve off your GM. 5th level spell. With this level 20 feet, you can do this basically for free once a minute. Summon Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Every minute you're summoning a free effing dragon. Are you kidding me? And yeah, it's sustained up to a minute, but that's still, by the time that minute is over, recast.
Oh, yeah. Have 2 dragons at your side. Ooh.
Not even, just because it only lasts up to a minute most.
Oh,
but here's the thing. A minute is how long it takes to refresh the free spell. That means every minute you're just recasting the same dragon ad infinitum. This is disgusting, and I love it.
True. Oh, I'm also looking. This has roleplay and battlefield potential.
Yeah.
Transmute rock and mud.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, like cast this twice to affect a huge area. Like maybe everything to the left of you and everything to the right of you.
Ooh, you could also do elemental form and change your body, and because you're recasting it almost every minute, depending on how long the concentration
True.
is, it's a minute. You're always in elemental form. You're pretty much always in elemental form.
Yeah, actually, that was the one I was looking at earlier. And yeah, you're basically the Human Torch.
Yeah. And the earth form is also insane. You want to go from being the squishy caster to being the frontline tank as a sorcerer. Level 20, elemental form, never stop, never stopping. You're just a rhino at that point.
Oh yeah, or you just want to sustain a telekinetic haul. Let's just say you want to drop multiple houses on people's head. You want to pull a Wizard of Oz on someone.
Yeah, it's insane. Van is saying with a druid you can turn into a dragon. Also true. I think one day we're going to do a deep dive like we did with sorcerer on the
PJ.
druid. Yeah.
PJ, telekinetic haul. It's not on multiple houses. It's on the same house, but you're like, boom, and then picking it back up, boom, picking it back up, boom. It's just like every turn, you're just like lifting it, dropping it, lifting it, dropping it.
That is evil. That is villain NPC status. Like I curse this house to always be falling. I'm gonna do the next one, Bloodline Metamorphosis, because now these are level 20, by the way. So that's
Yeah.
why this is so broken. The idea that you can basically recast a 5th level spell or any spell up to 5th level basically for free every minute, because this is the thing that defines your penultimate power.
Yeah.
And having a free 5th level spell forever and always is as we've discussed, kind of broken and disgusting.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Next one is Bloodline Metamorphosis. This is from the Age of Ashes. May contain spoilers. If you're playing that, I'm very sorry. We'll try to skip that. I'll read it first, so I don't give any spoilers.
There isn't any real spoilers, really.
Okay, it looks fine. So you have learned to manipulate the inner power of your bloodline and adapt it to your needs. When making your daily preparations, you can swap out a single spell of 9th level or lower for another spell of the same level. You can't swap out spells granted specifically by your bloodline. Don't you already do this? Swap out spells during daily prep from your spell
Yeah.
repertoire? Isn't that the reason why you have a spell repertoire?
I'm wondering if because the Age of Ashes, I think it was one of the first adventure paths that was
Yeah.
released with second edition. That but no,
Yeah.
it's because the core rulebook would have been released anyway and would have had all that stuff anyway.
Yeah. You know, it might be something that sometimes you read a rule, your brain kind of cuts to the shortest version of that rule, and
Yeah.
basically what I'm trying to say is we may have assumed this was the case, and it's not the case
Yeah.
by how it's written. So I don't know. I don't think that's a
yeah.
very strong capstone.
I'm wondering if the swapping out spell thing is if in the core rules as written, if it's only for up to a certain level.
Or maybe, ooh, you know what? That might be the case, because this does specifically say 9th level spells.
Yeah.
And more to the point, I need to go back and check, because I think that you could only swap spells when you level up, as opposed to when, every day. Let's see, your spell
Yeah.
repertoire.
Yeah, everybody, this is what you get when you do a live show where we go in blind.
Yeah, and also, sometimes you have to make sure your math is correct.
Yeah, trust
Yeah.
us, we get comments like this on our YouTube channel a lot.
Hey, I love it. If you want to come to our YouTube and correct me, call me out, fix my, or even give me a better do it.
Yeah.
Please. That's why
Gets
that's
us
why we're having
views.
a
It
group
gets us
discussion.
views.
Oh, it gets us views. But also, like, we should build a community of positive correction
Yeah.
and positive open engagement instead of the
definitely.
kind of the toxic ways we
Definitely.
tend to fall into as
Definitely.
nerds.
Like Pathfinder second edition for me is still, I kind of still say I'm not a total noob at this point, but oh god, what's the thing between noob and expert? I'm in that middle ground, I think, at this point.
like a journeyman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. And PJ, honestly, I'll just say this: PJ knows a lot more about this than I do.
There's still people that know more than I do. I put in all the research time. And speaking of research time, I think the look at the spell repertoire for the sorcerer. You only get to change your spell repertoire prepared, like the spells at a level. So I think the idea is that this basically gives you the ultimate freedom in spell preparation, which is nice. But considering all of the feats up to this point, regardless, that still gives you free access to spell knowledge from the arcane and occult bloodlines, free spell slots, all of the knowledge that you've already accumulated still kind of makes this a nice feat, but not a level 20 feat.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, it basically lets you total freedom, except with the spells from your spell line, which you're gonna have. You get to play around with those freely anyway.
Yeah, and Van's making some good suggestions that we might be thinking of the wizard spells and prep list. That's also possibly the case too. When you're using this amazing caster class, you're going to be balancing a lot of different spell lists: your blood spells, your blood powers, your spell repertoire, your prepared spells, and if you take the arcane evolutions, then you're going to be getting more spell lists of what you can prep. So there's a lot to kind of juggle as well.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on, we have our next level 20 feat called Bloodline Mutation. This is from the Advanced Player's Guide. Prereq for it is a bloodline based on specific type of creature. That sounds interesting. You permanently mutate to become more like the creature of your bloodline. I'm digging the flavor already. You gain the appropriate trait or traits of the types of creatures. Aberration for aberrant, angel and celestial for angelic, psychopomp and monitor for psychopomp, and so forth. Which means hag for hag. You gain low light vision or dark vision if one is appropriate for creatures of those traits. Choose one of the following. If the creature associated with your bloodline has the ability to fly, you gain a fly speed equal to your land speed. If the creature associated with your bloodline are aquatic or amphibious, you become amphibious and able to breathe water and air equally well, and you gain swim speed equal to your speed. And if creatures associated with your bloodline have a resistance or immunity to acid, cold, electricity, fire, negative, or sonic, choose an energy type of your bloodline is immune to or resistant to, and gain resistance 20 against that energy type. I can already see that this is going to be so useful for the Draconic bloodline.
The Draconic bloodline.
Yeah.
But also consider the celestial bloodline. If you look at what celestials, devils, and demons are resistant to and immune to, it's a thick list. And at this point in time, you could already stack up a few resistances and maybe not immunities, but definitely resistances. Now you have a bonus resistant 20 to something else. And a fly speed because you have wings. Also as a dragon, as a dragon too, because fly speed. But now I have to ask, because the bloodline of the dragon is specifically to that one type of dragon.
Yeah.
But that one type of dragon's already giving you a resistance to that element.
I would...
would that resistance just jump to 20 instead of like 10 or 15?
It could. Honestly, for me, at least through my eyes, rules as written, yes. And even if that wasn't the case, if I was a GM, I'd be like, you know what? This is a level 20 feat that you're getting. Yeah, that jumps to 20. No problem.
Yeah, it's definitely good. I'll say this. If you picked a bloodline that you're like, I picked the dragon because I want to be the dragon.
Yeah.
This is a very good way to do that. And it's permanent. So, like, you're not actually transformed into a dragon. You're just getting a bunch of permanent buffs to your sight, mobility, and defense.
You're dragon-ish.
You're dragon adjacent.
Yeah.
Now, if you pick something that you don't necessarily want to turn into, but you still want something else from it, Here's another level 20 feat. This is again this is the capstone. This is called Bloodline Perfection. Prerequisites: you have to have the Bloodline Paragon feat, which is much earlier in the development.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to really invest if you want this. You command the ultimate power of your bloodline and tradition. You gain an additional 10th level spell slot, which is dope because that's god magic. And considering that you only get one ever of a 10th level spell, having 2 or 3,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a 10th level wish spell being dropped 3 times a day.
Ooh, if you're a GM, this is just they're inviting you to monkey paw that spell.
Ugh. And here's what's subtle about this, right? It gives you 1 extra spell slot. And like, okay, well, I already have so many. And most of the 10th level, I think only 1 10th level spell out right now actually does damage. Everything else is...
Reality warping.
Yeah, it's narrative magic, basically. You now are telling the GM, no, look at me. Look at me. I'm the GM now. And also, you can take an 8th level spell, buff it to a god level spell, a 10th level spell, and make that dummy thick and insanely powerful. Next up, Meta Magic Mastery. Why don't you cover that, Mr. Michael Powell?
Right. This is a level 20 feat called Meta Magic Mastery. Altering your spells doesn't take any longer than casting them normally. You can use meta magic single actions as free actions. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, clarify for this for me.
Sure.
Does that mean, is it just one meta magic ability, or you could just stack all your meta magic abilities onto one spell at once?
So it says you can use meta magic single actions, right? So I believe if we have to look at this with the economy of actions we're given, that means one single action can be done for free. That doesn't mean you're only limited to doing one. You just have to have the action economy to support it. Now, if you look in the rules as written, I'm almost positive you can only apply 1 meta magic feat to a spell. But I mean, the whole point of this is that is a free and constant thing that you get to do. And that's what's really awesome.
Oh, that is very, very true. That is very, very useful. We do have one last level 20 feat here as part of the Extinction Curse line. Why don't you take that, PJ?
Tenacious Blood Magic. This is the last capstone feat you get to choose from. This is a free action. This, of course, is from the Extinction Curse Adventure Path, so it may contain spoilers. You can do this free action, once a minute. Trigger: you apply an effect from your blood magic that lasts for 1 round. Now, if you remember the second episode we did this deep dive, whenever you cast a bloodline spell, there's a free bloodline effect that goes off, and it's kind of a cool bonus power. So when that happens and it lasts for 1 round, you have learned how to invest magic more deeply by witnessing someone's works. I'm not going to say what it is because that might be a spoiler. The triggering blood magic lasts for 1 minute instead of 1 round. So this effect is something like a +1 or 2 to you, or a -1 or 2 to the target you've just cast upon, and it only lasts for 1 round. Now imagine this debuff, or buff, or effect, is now lasting for 1 minute while you're casting whatever other spells you want. This is good. However, if I'm being real, if I'm being honest, Bloodline Conduit or Bloodline Perfection is... Oh, and the Meta Magic Mastery. Those are insane.
True. But, you know what? Let me counteract that with the Hag's Bloodline Magic. Their debuffs.
Remind me what their debuff is for the blood power, blood effect.
Let me check that really quick. All right, there's Jealous Hex, which is initial. The advanced is Horrific Vistage, and the greater is You're Mine.
Oh yeah, Your Mind. I remember that.
Yeah. You pretty much control the Your Mind basically allows you to control the emotions of your opponent for a brief instant, which means they're stunned one, and you partially control them,
That's
or their
right.
critical failure is you literally control them. So instead of just one round, you control them for 1 minute, which is pretty much their entire combat.
You know what's crazy? Looking at the Your Mind Hag battle power, focus power, at heightened at 7th level, which at this level, at level 20, this would be heightened automatically to 7th
Yeah.
level. It says on a failure, the target is controlled for 1 round. On a critical failure, the target is controlled for up to 1 minute. It receives a new will save at the end of each of its turns. On a success, the spell ends. But the thing is that this duration is still now 1 minute. So even on a fail, not just a critical fail anymore, even on a success, let's be real, even if
Yeah.
they succeed the save, they are still stunned for 1 minute. They are stunned one for 1 minute. They get to re-roll anytime they want. Cool, good for them. But on a failure or a critical failure, they're stunned for 1 minute, and now they're your puppet for 1 minute.
Yeah, and even if you
Oh my
use
god.
honestly, even if you use their other bloodline magics like Jealous Hex, they're frightened too at critical failure for an entire minute, or horrific Vistage is they're frightened for an entire minute too. Frightened two for an entire minute at a crit fail, or Jealous Hex, they can either be enfeebled or drained too, or even
Yeah.
stupefied or clumsy for an entire minute, which is
Ooh,
your entire, combat.
you know what? My mistake. It's not the power that gets enhanced, it's the blood magic effect. That is my miscommunication. Blood magic. So if you use Your Mind, that doesn't last for a minute unless of course you're 7th level and they critically fail. What happens instead is the spiteful curses punishes your foes, as we covered in episode 2. The first creature that deals damage to you before the end of your next turn takes 2 mental damage per spell level and must attempt a basic will save. Now, the great thing about this is that effect goes from 1 round to 1 whole minute.
You're right. You're
The
right.
problem, though, is that even though the retribution damage is pretty high, 2 mental damage per spell level, 9th levels, that's 18 damage. And that's 18 damage around for 1 minute, but that means you have to be taking damage each
You're right.
round for a minute. And sorcerers, I think, have like a hit HP of like an 8 plus class.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
6 plus con modifier. So maybe you don't want to be doing that one because you're going to be in some dangerous crosshairs.
Yeah. Yeah. You're totally right, PJ. I jumped the gun on that a bit. My
No, hey,
mistake.
dude, I was right there with you. I was like, oh yeah, let's run together on this. I had to double back. I was like, oh.
But I'll say this still with the Aberrant's blood magic. The Aberrant Whispers shields one's target's mind or your own for your entire combat. You get a +2 on will saving throws.
Oh, okay. Here's another one I think you're going to like, Mr. Michael Powell. The demonic blood magic, which takes a -1 status penalty to AC, or you get a +1 to intimidate. With this level 20 capstone, that instead of lasting like 1 round, which blink and you might miss the chance to use that, now it's going to last for a minute of them having -1 against their AC, so dirty crits have that much more opportunity to get off. And I love dirty crits. Thank you, Pathfinder 2, for making dirty crits a thing. Or you're going to get a +1 to intimidation checks for a minute. That is the entire fight.
Yeah, or the Diabolic bloodline where you could either your opponent takes 1 fire damage per level, which at level 20 is, you do the math, PJ, but pretty up there. It's pretty up there, and or you gain +1 status bonus to Deception for the entire combat.
This is actually kind of a fun way to turn a Diabolic bloodline into an unofficial blaster caster, like the Elemental bloodline is clearly about, because you're getting if you cast a level 10 version of a spell, like a blaster, an attack spell, you're getting a free bonus 10 damage to that, and that guaranteed damage is going to really affect the average dice damage that you can hurt someone with.
Ooh. One last one.
Mm-hmm.
The Undead Bloodline. Yeah, either you gain temporary hit points equal to the spell's level for 1 round, or a target takes 1 negative damage per spell level. And let's see, spell level. Yeah.
That's really great, because now with that buff of making it last 1 minute instead of 1 round, that means for the entire fight you have now effectively buffed your casting potential. Because the Undead Bloodline, if you guys remember in I think episode 3, had a really cool mechanic where aside from of course using a bunch of negative damage and doing a bunch of undead necromancy kind of stuff, it was also really big on buffing your HP with temporary HP. A lot of the spells and abilities the Undead Bloodline had was dedicated to the mechanic of temp HP production, so you can take more damage.
Yeah, like the Undead Bloodline is, I kind of want to say, you have the power over life and death.
Yeah. Reaped asked a question. Reap Psyche says, "Do stun and slow stack to remove actions?" I want to say because they are two different effects, they can stack. However, because they are stunned, they're not really taking any action. I mean, they're taking some actions. I forgot what they're limited to off the top of my head, but
I think they could drop prone.
I think they do drop prone. You know what? Hold on. Let me do a quick lookup of the effect, because I want to make sure I'm giving the correct information out.
While you're doing that, really quick.
Yes.
Van posted, I think the spell rep is the spells you could choose from. However, you still need to have learned spells. I think you maybe think, yeah, you already got that. Oh, Pengu-chan. I love these deep dives, by the way. Gives me more ideas on what class to pick for Pathfinder 2. Really glad that you're taking a lot from this, Pengu-chan. And Van Axel says, these are great. Oh, and Pengu-chan already decided having a Kitsune as a race.
Ooh, Kitsune Ancestry Sorcerer. I think that's really good. Yeah. What bloodline, though? Are you going to go Draconic Kitsune?
Do Undead. Be a Goth Kitsune.
No, be a Psychopomp to be the full Goth, or be Undead and just be like, Jack Skellington, the fox person. Okay, stunned. So you become senseless. You can't act while stunned, so you don't get to do any actions. Stunned usually includes a value, which indicates how many total actions you lose. Okay. Possibly over multiple turns from being stunned. Each time you regain actions, such as the start of your turn, reduce the number you regain by your stunned value. Then reduce your stunned value by the number of actions you lost. For example, if you're at stunned 4, you would lose all 3 of your actions on a turn, so then you'd be stunned 1 the next time you get a turn. Stunned might also have a duration instead of a value, so stunned 1 for a minute, or stunned for 1 minute. In this case, you lose all your actions for a minute. Stunned, okay, here's the question that Reap was asking. Here's the clarification, Reap Psyche. Stunned overrides slowed. If the duration of your stunned condition ends while you are slowed, you count the actions lost to the stunned condition towards those lost to being slowed. So, for example, if you were stunned 1 and slowed 2 at the beginning of your turn, you would lose 1 action from the stun, and then lose only 1 additional action by being slowed for 2. Oh, okay, I see. So you use stun first. Once stun is gone, then you apply what's left to slow.
Okay.
It's a little tricky, and I think they had to do this because they are so similar in action economy penalties. So thank you for that question. I'm glad we can answer.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's really nice. Putting if you cast multiple debuffs on somebody, they first have to go through the first tier of debuffs, and then they have to move on to the next tier of debuffs, right?
Yeah. So effectively speaking, you would get rid of the stun before you get rid of the slow. So like if you have like a stun 3 slow 2, first of all, just go get a sandwich. You're gonna be gone for a few hours. But you're effectively gonna lose an entire round to the stun 3, and then you're gonna lose the slowed 2. So you don't, when you get back to your next round, you're only having one action that round.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the Pathfinder GM screen has the tiers that it should. If it doesn't, it should. If not, somebody needs to make one. If not, PJ, we should make one.
That I agree on. That'd be really cool to kind of like little cheat sheets for conditions.
Yeah.
Because what I have for my GM screen, which is because how we're doing it right now, it makes no sense to have a screen up here. It does have a breakdown of every single condition, how it works, and how, conditions combining works. It doesn't really have this specific information on Stunned, so I'm super glad that's published. And if it does, I have to go double check.
But anyway, that has been the feats for the Sorcerer. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting list. Let's kind of start wrapping things up with our final thoughts. First final thought, PJ. Since we just talked about the feats, what level 20 capstone feat would you say that you like the best?
Oh, it really depends on what the bloodline I have is, because that's kind of the thing about the Sorcerer, right? Your bloodline really informs all your really cool choices. For me, it's a tie between the Bloodline Conduit or Bloodline Perfection, because obviously having that extra level 10 spell slot is really good. It is really, and it's so universal. It doesn't matter what you're playing. Having another God spell in your back pocket is delicious. But having infinite free 5th level magic is also insane.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. For me, it would be between one would definitely be Bloodline Conduit, because more bullets in a chamber means more fun to be had.
Yeah.
And the second would be a kind of a toss-up between Bloodline Mutation and Tenacious Blood Magic. Meaning for a fact that would be depending on, like you said before, what bloodline you choose. Like if you chose a bloodline that has, as you said before, like a celestial or demonic or dragon, the roleplay potential and also the stat boost potential of bloodline mutation, so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But then Tenacious Blood Magic, if you have a really awesome blood magic effect, like we said before, the Undead Bloodline. I really like that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the big thing. The bloodline that you choose really kind of gives you so many options for customization. Like the Sorcerer is such an insane amount of possibilities. Like Pengu-chan was thinking, the Kitsune Sorcerer. You could be a Kitsune Fae Sorcerer. You could be a Kitsune Hag Sorcerer. You could be a Kitsune Dragon Sorcerer and have the most awesome OP, like, mind control, shape-shifting, dragon wings flying, fire-breathing badass.
I mean, you could even go Naruto with it and be a Kitsune Aberrant Blood Sorcerer.
You could totally... Oh, if you want to do Naruto. Oh, my God.
Yeah, because of the sealed spirits. I consider them aberrants, kind of.
I could see, you know what? I could also see them, because, like, I'm taking this from the perspective of being in Japan and knowing that these are, like, spirits, right? Like, powerful spirits. Because aberrants are basically Cthulhu-esque. They are monstrosities from the moon, for lack of a better description. And so I kind of see these creatures being Fae. Kind of. Fae or diabolic?
Yeah,
I mean, at least in Naruto, because they're all evil as hell.
I can see that because I said aberrant mainly for a fact that you could be a corrupted spirit, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Or even, honestly, this would be kind of interesting, be a Kitsune Genie bloodline.
Oh, no, that would be good.
Yeah. That would be really cool.
You know what else you could do, especially if you want to kind of play up that Naruto, like, Firefox, Ninetales thing?
Yeah.
You go Kitsune, go Elemental, choose Fire, and next thing you know, you're bypassing resistances. You can even take a versatile heritage in Tiefling if Kitsune is not a versatile heritage already.
Or
and then just be fire wizard, like
definitely.
out the butt.
Or if you want to be, you can even get the celestial feat kind of, because Kitsune's, there is a tier in oh god, in Chinese mythology, the earth is reflected up above, the whole celestial thing is reflected. Imperial, be a royal Kitsune.
See, I like that. I'm a little disappointed. Okay, so this is like some Pathfinder 1 versus Pathfinder 2 stuff. In Pathfinder 1, they had the Arcane Bloodline and the Imperial Bloodline. They were two different bloodlines. And what they were is the Arcane Bloodline was, hey, magic. So much magic.
Yeah.
A wizard. Your grandfather was a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. Here's wizard. And the Imperial Bloodline is kings. Kings, queens, emperors run in your veins, and their power from being this great, like, noble ruler, destined ruler, is in you, and it has another effect. And those effects were basically, the Arcane Bloodline made you effectively a wizard. It gave you some wizard spells, some extra wizard knowledge, a familiar, and a focus, and, cool. As a sorcerer with a wizard hybrid, it was a good way at, like, cheating the system a bit, but it wasn't exciting. The Imperial Bloodline, because you were a god dang king, meant that any time a bard or buff spell or any buff effect hit you, you could double it and then disperse it to everyone around you. So if you are in a party with a bard, with an Imperial Bloodline barbarian sorcerer, they call them Blood Ragers, the minute the bard starts doing their song, it's double that, and it's going to everyone in the party. It's insane. So in Pathfinder 2e, the Imperial Bloodline isn't that.
Okay, now I'm mad. Now I'm mad that it's not like that.
Right? It was so good. Like, okay, it was broken as hell, but it was so good. And now the Imperial Bloodline in 2e is the Arcane Bloodline from 1e. It's basically, again, it's a good way of cheating the system at making a sorcerer-wizard hybrid, and that's good, but I want to have the power to just dummy thick buffs for everyone around me.
And you know what? Speaking of bloodlines, what are some of your choices for the nice, healthy list of bloodlines that we have thus far? Because I'm finger crossing that we're going to have access to some more bloodlines once the Mwangi Expanse comes out. They should have that. Finger crossed. Or Secrets of Magic. Secrets of Magic.
My money's on Secret of Magic because I know that they're releasing 2 classes and just a lot of new spells and spell stuff. So I'm hoping Secret of Magic gives new bloodlines. But mine, pretty straightforward. I think my favorite, obviously Angelic. If you want to be a healer, this is amazing. You're basically an off cleric. It's really good. I like Draconic and Elemental for defense or offensive magic and builds. And I mean, of course, the Hag is great for its ways to basically break your game. But I want to say, last but not least, it's a dead tie between the Psychopomp and the Undead, because they both have really cool concept builds.
No, that's a good list. That's a good list. I'm actually, I'm a little, I guess, I was kind of, like I said, I'm not as knowledgeable about Pathfinder lore as URPJ. That I kind of feel there's a part of me that feels that Psychopomp and Undead could have been one thing.
I think I kind of see where you're going with. I think the big difference for these two bloodlines is that a Psychopomp is someone who takes you to the world of the dead, right? So they're more like, I believe, if anyone saw episode 3 when we did it, the Psychopomp is basically like a grave cleric from the other game. Your job is more about using necromantic energy to make sure the dead stay dead. So you get a lot of really cool powers to, like, bridge the gap to the realm of the dead, the sphere of the dead, and you get some other really cool necrotic powers. But again, your job is to kill the undead, right? The Undead Bloodline is more about using divine spells for a necromantic outcome. You are an undead creature at this point, more or less, and you are using your ability to feed on life to keep yourself sustained. So the build mechanics of these bloodlines are very set in that Psychopomp is like, I'm going to be an undead killer, and I'm going to kind of buff against the undead. And the undead themselves are like, I'm going to use the fact that I'm undead to keep buffing myself and continuing my longevity.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're similar, but they're different.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's kind of like the diabolic and demonic.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it would the first pick, number one, Hag. The permanency of their abilities.
Why?
Ooh,
Why
so good, so good. As you said before, PJ, the Hag is the "F I'm the DM now" bloodline. They're just, I'm just gonna say it. They're Somali pirates of the bloodline.
I am the GM now.
Yeah, yeah. My next choice would have to be, it would be a toss-up actually between Diabolic and Undead because their blood magic effect, they're both pretty good. As you said before, the Diabolic bloodline, you can kind of effectively create. It's like a cross between a social face character and also a blaster, which is useful in any party group.
Yeah, and that's something I always kind of thought was interesting because, like, the end of episode 2 and all of episode 3, going through the bloodlines, it presented some very interesting mechanic builds, and I kind of liked how the Diabolic was like one hand a debuffer and a little bit of blaster, not much, but a little bit. But also it offered face options.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, we hadn't really had solid face options. You get that a little bit with the Fae, but the Fae is kind of like, face options, but mostly like mind control and invisibility. But Diabolic is definitely more face.
Yeah, like I said, you're the lawyer. You're the Silverton lawyer. You're Saul Goodman. And like you said before, I want to say all his face abilities and everything, they're all loaded in the first few levels. And then when you get to the higher levels, that's when you get the nice crunchy blaster stuff.
Yeah, and the perks and benefits to casting specific types of damage is nice. Now, of course, the big issue is a lot of creatures are resistant or immune endgame to fire magic. So you have to kind of play that out and kind of do your research. But hey, half the fun of creating a character is kind of researching the possibilities, right?
Van Axel posted, I know one of these books is supposed to have class archetypes like in 4th edition, where you can swap out certain class features for others. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I remember we were doing a cover of the PaizoCon that happened a little while ago, and I'm really excited to do that again when we get the chance. But there's a rumor that they were bringing back what Pathfinder 1 called Archetypes. Now, the difference between Archetypes in 1E and 2E is that Archetypes are basically what prestige classes were in 1E. There's kind of feat that you take points from and use for your feat build. But 1E had this thing called Archetypes, and basically, like, for example, if you were a fighter, it was a good but boring class, right? Being a fighter in 1E, very straightforward. You hit with sword. And you got all the feats in the world.
Yeah.
But the archetypes are cool because you would lose one feature to get a whole new feature, and you could combo these. So my theory is, Van, if they bring that back, what they're going to do is they're going to remove the traits and features, but not the feats, right? So, like, for example, you're going to not get Juggernaut and instead get something else. Like, you get to you already get to reroll fort saves the Juggernaut.
Because, like, honestly, I'm actually looking forward to us doing a kind of a deep dive on the fighter core class, but I don't think that we should do that until we at least finish more archetypes, because I think the archetype you choose as a fighter kind of creates your final product.
When you say archetype for the fighter, you mean
Not
like...
archetype, archetypes.
Yeah. You mean like the kind of like prestige classes things, right?
Yeah, it's like what is it? Like the Mauler, the
Mm-hmm.
Marshal, Archer, etc.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's also something true because like from the research I've done into fighters in 2E, they kind of have the same thing that fighters have in every game, which is they are simple and effective. They're not going to be really complicated or flashy. They're going to be about doing raw damage as straightforward as possible. There's a lot of room there to be underwhelmed. That doesn't mean it's bad. It is very good at what it does, but
They're
it's very
solid.
underwhelming.
They're solid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the archetypes, I feel, makes the archetypes you choose as a fighter makes your final character, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what's kind of interesting about the sorcerer. The bloodline at the beginning and the capstone at the end really creates a full interesting possibility.
I want to say sorcerer is definitely one of these classes that you don't design as you play. You have a planned list of how you want it to go.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. You need to research a lot. Now, here's the thing. That may sound like, oh, I don't want to do homework. But the good thing is that you are having all of the creative time. That's your creative time with a sorcerer, is in the research. Oh, man, if I had this and I had this, oh, that could do that.
Yeah. This is really great for your fans of the crunchy bits.
Oh,
Ooh,
the munch and crunch.
Yeah, honestly, now I got an idea for a shirt now. It's just basically it's to be the crunchy bits.
Okay, absolutely. I mean, yeah. That's actually a fun idea for a show. It's called the Crunchy Bits, and instead of like, and it's just math. It's just 2 hours of math.
Yeah, you know what? If At the Table wasn't called At the Table, if we didn't have a title, I would suggest us. You know what? Let's just call ourselves the Crunchy Bits.
Hey, maybe we'll do a spin-off. At the Table will be more like, hey, what do you guys think? What's up? Here's this thing. It's really cool. I recommend it. Here's some stuff. Crunchy Bits is going to be like, what hits harder? This spell from this class or this feature, and we'll do math for 2 hours.
I don't know.
For the finale of Sorcerer, we were able to cover all the bloodlines, all the feats, most of the spells, all the traits, and this versatile caster is truly amazing. We hope you like this series on the deepest dive that we could do, and I'm looking forward to maybe one day covering Wizard, and then comparing and contrasting. But until then, please let us know what you'd like to see another deep dive on, a deeper dive, if you will, any class, even one we may have already covered. But until that day, Mr. Michael Powell, please, it's that time again, tell them who you are and where they can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
Well, as always, I am the dastardly, dashing Michael Powell, and you can find me all over the internet on my social medias, which is at Mr. Kapow, that's MRKAPAO, or my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Michael Powell Does Stuff, because I do a lot of stuff, like my YouTube channel called Fantastic Tales of Adventure. Or on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm on the Toyzilla Network channel, where I'm part of a show called Toyzilla Live, where we talk about toy news and a lot of nostalgia stuff. So, hope to see you there. So, how about you, PJ?
Thanks for asking. My name is PJ McGaw. You can find me all over the internet at pj.mcgaw. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Come friend me. Come find me. Let's have fun. When I'm not here with Michael on Tuesdays, 3:30 to 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, you can find me, Michael, Ian, Sam, Sydney, and Kylie doing our Pathfinder 2nd Edition homebrew show, Edge of Legend. And this one's going to be exciting because this is going to be episode 50. Not only have we been here for a year, we have made 50 episodes of this show. We have done lots of charity shows, so we're so excited. Thank you for joining us along this journey into Give Back. This episode 50 is going to be a giveaway for these amazing leather dice bags hand-stitched by Cognitive Merchant, a friend of the show, fan of the show, and is an overall awesome person. And if you want to get this bag, please go to our Twitter, at Nat20 Production, follow the instructions, and enter to win this amazing dice bag for free. There's 2 of them. Get them while you can, and come see us this Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, to see if you've won one of these dice bags. And last but not least, Jasper's Game Day and I are at it again, July 11th, this next weekend, next Sunday. July Anyway, point is, for suicide prevention and awareness, my first time ever playing the game, and that's GMing it. No Nat1s is GMing, and some of the friends from the chat are going to get to play alongside me. So please tune in, support, and let's have a great time, and I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, stay safe, and I'll see you same Nat time, same Nat channel here at the table.
Bye!
Bye. Bye.